It's 9 minutes past 7 o'clock. A conversation that we started on Friday, but because of technical issues, didn't get very far in the conversation with Janet Smith because more and more the name of one Patrice Motsepe has been thrown into the discussion when it comes to potential future presidents of the ANC and future president of South Africa. The ANC will have an elective conference in 2027. According to the ANC's constitution, Cyril Ramaphosa could theoretically run for a third term of ANC president, but he can't run for a third term as the president of South Africa. So the ANC is now looking at a post Ramaphosa world, and there have been a couple of names bandied about. Of course, somewhat tradition within the ANC that the deputy president runs for the leadership of the party. David Mabuza would be the exception to that rule. Fikile Mbalula, the current Secretary General of the ANC, he, on his social medias, when he posts pictures of himself, and he posts a lot of pictures of himself, comes with a little watermark in the bottom corner. Fikile Mbalula for president. And then Patrice Motsepe. There's apparently a behind-the-scenes campaign underway to get Patrice Motsepe to the 2027 ANC elective conference and run for party president. But does he have the political ambitions? Janet Smith, journalist, author, is the writer of the 2022 book about Patrice Motsepe, and Appetite for Disruption is what it's called. Good morning, Janet. Really appreciate us continuing this conversation this morning.
Hi, Lester. Thank you so much. Thank you, and hi to the listeners too.
I couldn't get through the first question last week because of technical issues, but does Patrice Motsepe have an appetite for the highest office within the ANC and then by extension, highest office in this country?
Well, I think that is a question that people have been asking for a few years, and it to me, it was the reason for writing the book in the first place, because I was very curious about that. And when I finally got to talk to him about it, he addressed it somewhat obliquely, and I think what I was trying to read was just these sort of short lines from him on Friday. He said to me, South Africa is a pivot on the continent. We have to tell each other this is not like any other country in Africa. We've got a real possibility at the moment to bring about generational, multicultural, and multilingual change. And these are, in fact, large things. But because they are somehow so difficult to put across, they can feel like small things. So you can see what I mean. It's kind of ambiguous, but it's also very interesting about what he's saying there.
Yeah.
Multilingual, multicultural. So yes, I couldn't quite get an answer out of him. But let's say, from my point of view, I think he wants the bigger office, which is president of FIFA.
Which is a bigger office, of course, because you all countries want to be friends with you because you can offer them a football World Cup. Gianni Infantino is the best friend of Donald Trump at the moment because the US, along with Canada and Mexico, and host the 2026 football World Cup. But if you look at not much is known about the background of Patrice Motsepe. We know he is one of South Africa's richest men, primarily involved in mining, but other businesses as well. He's the president of the Mamelodi Sundowns Football Club. He's the president of CAF, but also he is the brother-in-law of Cyril Ramaphosa himself. What's your thoughts on a Ramaphosa Motsepe political dynasty that could be in an offing year?
Oh gosh, yeah. I mean, on just in terms of a TV, 4-part miniseries. Wow, what a thing! That would really be. But I think Ramaphosa himself is not that keen on sort of a dynastic, monarchical kind of politics, and I would reckon that he Yeah, I don't know if their politics are that similar. The thing that is interesting about Motsepe is that he funds everybody. I asked him about this because, he seemed to, when we finally had a view or an insight into political funding, thanks to some legislative changes a few years back, it was clear that he was funding, a few other parties. And he said he's been funding many parties for a long time, not only within the last few years. So he gives money to the EFF, he gives money to Freedom Front Plus. So he's an interesting one. It's kind of, hedging his bets or, shotgun approach. He certainly gives the most money to the ANC, but he is interesting in that sense. And I think probably when we look back to what he said to me, it is about democracy, or it's about trying to make sure that everyone has a voice. So it's curious. I don't see him as an ideological person.
Yeah, I don't think he is much because he was one of the few who were aligned to the ANC to openly congratulate, for example, a incoming Donald Trump presidency
Oh
around the
gosh.
20th of January this year.
Yeah, that's a curiosity. I mean, I think of all there are not many scandals attached to, to Motsepe. But I think, when he sort of stood up at that dinner, when during Trump's first administration and sort of raised a glass to him on behalf of Africa, that was very much problematic. Immediately there was a backlash from African countries, from African leaders, from African activists to say, please don't speak on our behalf. And he did backtrack, he did apologize for that. But it's a little bit like Trump going on his first official visit to Saudi Arabia. These are individuals who feel very comfortable in business spaces, making deals. And that's why, we have to see Motsepe more in that light. He's turned CAF around, which is quite phenomenal. And he's not earning much. I mean, a vice president at FIFA earns about 5 million rand a year, which is really not much. I think he just donates
Yeah.
it. When you get to be a FIFA president, you're then earning close to 60 million rand a year. And you're able to make much bigger deals. You're able to talk to any world leader at any time.
Then there's also the issue of independently wealthy individuals running campaigns, particularly within the ANC. A lot being spoken about of how Cyril Ramaphosa funded his own ANC presidential ambitions. And with funding your own presidential ambitions, if you are incredibly wealthy, it becomes incredibly easy to attract people to your cause, to
Mm.
move people, to fly people in, to set up and house a voting bloc so that they go to, for example, the Nasrec Convention Center to go vote for you. So I think we should have also a little bit of a healthy skepticism of independent, wealthy individuals in this country running political campaigns and ambitions, Janet.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you. And I think Ibrahim Traore, who's been all over the news for shaking Putin's hand, last week at Russia's big celebrations. In terms of that West African bloc, he said something very interesting, Traore. He said, leading a country is a privilege, not a business opportunity. So, we have to be a little bit careful around the shifting tides, of politics, and certainly on this continent. What is interesting with Motsepe is he would be able to speak to a Traore in as much as he would be able to speak to, the leaders of Morocco. In fact, he's been accused of being just a little bit too close to Morocco. And so, he can certainly run a campaign in this country on his own money. Yes, that's true. Although South Africans are ideological beings and they vote tend to vote ideologically, so they may not see him as a righteous candidate. But when it comes to FIFA, yes, money plays a role, but he can also bond people together across all sorts of boundaries. And yeah, it's a tough one. I really wish in a way that he would throw his hat into the ring to lead South Africa. I think he could do something quite fascinating.
Okay.
But I don't know, Lester. I think, if we look sort of 15 years hence, on this continent, we're looking at very, very wealthy individuals who are trying to move this continent towards being the most powerful in the world. And I think he wants to be one of those people doing that.
Jan Smith, really appreciate your time. Journalist, author, the author of the biography, an unauthorized biography, but she had interviewed him. It's called Patrice Motsepe, An Appetite for Disruption. Your thoughts on a possible Patrice Motsepe presidency of the ANC and by extension a possible presidency of South Africa?